Good afternoon. Thanks very much for your time and attention. Still being awake after lunch and all. Appreciate the chance to tell you about my favorite topic, Baudax Bio. The lawyers have, of course, threatened me within an inch if I don't tell you to look at all of our filings before you make any investment decisions. So Baudax Bio is a company that has a commercial product, ANJESO, approved in February of 2020, just in time for the pandemic. It's a product that is a once-a-day, 24-hour lasting, not opioid, analgesic for pain, such as after surgery. And it's used in hospitals and in ambulatory care settings. We also have a pipeline of acute care products directed primarily at anesthesia, offering, we think, some important advances over the good products that are currently available, but that would allow for more cost-effective and timely treatment. The financial position of the company is not excessively capitalized, as you will note, with $16 million on the balance sheet as of the filing of the K, and that was as of 12/31 with the filing in March. We have a very experienced leadership team, which is contracted somewhat because of cost-saving measures, but still a very experienced team, both in the development and the commercialization side. On the pipeline status, as mentioned, ANJESO is approved. The neuromuscular blocking agents, which are agents that people would use for surgery on the trunk of the body, such as cardiovascular or major abdominal surgery, or for surgery where robotics are being used, such as laparoscopic surgery, where the abdomen will be inflated and ventilatory support is needed. There is an intermediate acting agent, which means it lasts about 40 minutes, which is the length of many laparoscopic procedures, and an ultra short acting, which acts about 10 minutes before it starts to decay. And the benefit of that is if you only needed it to paralyze the vocal cords so that you could intubate somebody without the risk of tearing those, that would be an agent that would be very appropriate to use. And they each are reversed by the same reversal agent, BX3000, that can within 1 to 2 minutes completely reverse the effects of those agents, whether you're at the beginning of surgery or at the end of surgery, which is a differential from some currently available agents. The commercial product, as I mentioned, has a unique profile, well differentiated from others. It lasts for 24 hours after one single 1 ml bolus injection. It's been seen to be safe and effective in over 1,500 patients in double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, the gold standard. It is an agent that's a COX-2 preferential. Who cares? Because many of you are not ultra specialists in that space, but it means that unlike Advil, which is a COX-1, or Ketorolac, a hospital product, which is also a COX-1, you don't have to worry so much about bleeding because it doesn't make the platelets not sticky. And it also reduces the risk of renal issues because some COX-1s can cause a problem for your kidneys, especially if you're older or you have slightly impaired renal function. This product has been shown to be safe in that population when used as directed. And it's a once-a-day push. So most agents used for acute pain that is in the moderate to severe range will require to get a drug every 4 to 6 hours. And that by itself isn't the hardship. The hardship is that your level of pain control goes down before you get that next dose. So you have these trough effects where you're having so much pain that the next dose doesn't act fast enough and you wind up getting opioids to try to bridge that gap. One of the goals of using agents like ours is to reduce the amount of opioids, which helps the patient because they're less likely to have a fall risk or dizziness or be groggy. But it also helps the hospital because those patients that get opioids are more likely to have opioid-related side effects and have a longer length of stay, which costs the hospital more money. So the overview for the product is that it's non-opioid, once daily. It uses a unique technology that a company called Alkermes and Elan had developed to make this otherwise rock-like substance soluble enough to put into an IV product. And the commercial launch is ongoing, a little bit challenged because of COVID, and in certainly 27 months of COVID diminished access to some institutions, and a lot of hospitals did not have any meetings called formulary meetings where they would look at new products. 21, we had 5 months of COVID, it got a little better and the traction began to pick up, and the growth has been steady quarter after quarter, and the number of users in the fourth quarter was up by about 32% compared to the prior quarter, and the vials to standalone ambulatory or same-day surgery centers was up 45% quarter over quarter. We continue to see growth through the first quarter, although we're not at the reporting period for that yet. Orange Book listed patents mean these are patents that we could enforce against someone who wanted to file against us and delay a generic filer for 30 months during that period of time that these patents are enforced. There are some patents that have in this first quarter been added that will extend this period longer than 2030. But currently those that are associated with the reporting period ending the end of the year were through 2030. We've done health economic studies that were direct studies, not modeling based on theory, but actual measurements of time and motion and patients and outcomes and length of stays, and saw that in major surgery like colon resection, patients left the hospital on average about a day earlier than those who were not on ANJESO. It was standard of care plus ANJESO or standard of care plus a placebo, salt water. And those that were on ANJESO plus standard of care left a day earlier. That would save a hospital about $2,000 a patient on average. Total knee replacement or TKA surgery, we saw that patients who already in most cities leave the hospital within a day or the next morning after total knee replacement, those patients saved on average $2,500 if they were in the ANJESO group versus the other, again, standard of care plus or standard of care with just placebo, because they needed less other system and rehabilitation interactions than they had in the group that didn't get ANJESO. So cute little vial. It fits in the Pixis Cart, which for those of you who don't get lucky enough to spend a lot of time in operating rooms, is a cute little cart that the anesthesiologist has that has most every drug they would normally need to use. And having one that's small and fits easily in there makes it much more convenient to be able to be used. It is available in ones or in larger quantities. There is no reconstitution. It's ready to use at room temperature, and that's a plus as well. We've talked about the metrics that we closed 21 with. We have, because of the challenges that we face in the marketplace, we are using field personnel. We find that you can't get a commitment to use a product only from telesales or only from digital media. We do use those, but field personnel are needed to get the commitment to get onto formulary and to get the commitment to go through the in-services and training for personnel. So we have sort of a SWAT team that we've retained that is doing that in areas where we get onto new formularies and trying to make sure we get the pull-through. We're going to the meetings where the specialists are there, and we're doing speakers bureau meetings where we have one of the specialists who's used the product talk about their use of the product to others. Sales continuing to grow quarter over quarter. Still not a rocket ship. We would like it to be a rocket ship, but hospital launches are not usually rocket ships. They're slower to adopt than it would be in an office-based drug setting. But this is progressing well. We did make a decision in the first quarter of this year to significantly adjust the burn rate because of the condition of the capital markets as well as the market that we serve. We could not continue with the number of personnel that we have and the rate of rise, even though it was growing well. So we have shrunken down to a smaller group, and after we have completed with the expenses associated with that reduction in force, which will be in the next month or so. We believe that we will have a sustainable burn rate going forward, not quite at break even for the product, but approaching that. And with a little bit of growth, we think we can get there within the next year. And a very modest spend on the neuromuscular blocking agents, but one that will progress those. And for pharma products, get these two products to a point where we can file one of the NMBAs and the reversal agent, we believe, by approximately the end of 24, which is pretty quick for this low rate of spend. So we've seen very good success in integrated delivery networks, which are like your really big hospitals, like Kaiser, for those of you from the West Coast, Miami, UHealth here, and other larger systems, UPMC in Pittsburgh. Those integrated delivery networks are very tough to break into, but we are having success with a number of those. Also large systems of ambulatory surgical centers, so we don't go to little neighborhood ambulatory surgical centers, but very high volume ones, where surgeons who are high volume surgeons have to do surgeries in addition to the hospital to take care of the number of patients that want their services. And we've made very good success with 2 of those top 5 organizations. Neuromuscular blocking agents, I've briefly mentioned where we are with those in development. Those are in active clinical programs this year. We will report out a milestone, we believe, for the 1000 compound, which will be in a phase 2 study that we expect to report out before the end of the year. And the BX2000 study will go through its dose escalation study. This is where a little bit different for anesthesia drugs, you push the dose to the point at which you see side effects. You do that in healthy volunteers, and then you use that information to go to your next phase 2 study, which would be in actual surgical patients, such as we're doing for 1000. So the 2000 study will end by approximately the end of the year, January of next year, depending on COVID impact on enrollment, but we don't expect that to be dramatic. And the reversal agent will get to first in man, we believe, by approximately the end of this year as well. This is a big marketplace. To give you a frame of reference, Merck has a product called Bridion, which is a reversal agent only. That agent last year sold more than $1.2 billion in the US. It goes off patent in the next 2 years. And it's a good product, but it's very expensive. That product, we believe, leaves room for improvement still, even though it's a good product. We think we can act faster in reversal. And from the time you give an agent until that patient can breathe on their own is really important to the anesthesiologist. You can't get the patient off of the OR table until they're breathing. You don't want to move them to the post-op care unit till they're able to breathe on their own. That can be a devastating set of complications if you do that. So we can help ensure that, and the combination of the reversal agent and the agent that induced the blockade, that cost effectiveness, it can be very dramatically cost effective for hospitals, we believe, to consider this product as opposed to continuing to use what they've been using at a pretty high expense rate. Thank you very much for your time. You've been very attentive. I really appreciate it and wish you a good afternoon. Thanks.